be able to present. I'm glad that the technology now allows us to do this way and present it remotely. So anyhow, like Michelle said, we'll talk about the activities of the Method and Tools SIG in this past year. And first slide I have, let's see, are we advancing here? There we go. Is list of the active participants in the group. Jasper, Michael, Michelle, and I have regular calls, and Mark has a lot of input into what we're dealing with here within the group as far as things like the threading model and that type of stuff. If you're interested in participating, my email is on the slide along with Michelle's. Reach out, let us know, and we'd be glad to have you as part of the group. Typically, we're doing 4 calls a month, 1 every week on Tuesdays. Right now, are we good? Are we good? Good. Okay. Thought someone was trying to say something. I've got loop feedback. So someone mute your line. Thanks. Okay. So our conference calls are 4 a month on Tuesdays. I may need to talk to you guys about rescheduling that, but we'll talk about that at the next meeting. We also have a joint conference call with the Interop SIG. I think we've moved those to Tuesdays. I don't think this is current right now. We got to double check that with Malcolm as well. Make sure that our schedules are working. But yeah, if you're interested in joining with us, you know, we do have these calls that we go over the work that we're in progress performing at the time. So our charter, it's been the same for at least the past half dozen years. We're wanting to integrate and expand computer-aided process engineering applications within the enterprise by identifying and resolving cross-cutting issues within the CAPE Open platform, as well as mechanisms for use of CAPE within other applications. You know, some of the flow sheet monitoring type of thing would make the flow sheet available to other things that you might be interested in evaluating within the flow sheet, and make the flow sheet itself serve as kind of a database for some of your other activities that you may be doing in the enterprise. Okay. Key responsibilities are we focus on the common interfaces, identification, collections, utilities. Parameters all fall within the scope of the Method and Tools SIG. Some of the standards for and protocols for CAPE Open implementation. You know, as far as some of this goes to, this is where our interaction with the Interop SIG comes into play. Is what are the standards? Incorporate investments in information technology, along with identifying novel uses of computer-aided process engineering, and provide standards for utilizing CAPE within those applications. So that's an overview of what we're doing within the SIG. You know, lately we've been very much focused on the COBIA development, which I've got a couple of slides in here, and I don't believe Jasper has a presentation this time. Michelle, is that correct? No other presentation on that?
No presentation.
Yep. All right. So our 2023 activities, 22-23 activities over the past year, we've maintained the phase 2 Windows package for COBIA, and we've done some work on phase 1 development. We've completed the generic TCP marshallers and some of the transport scenario mechanisms, and pre-compiled headers for COBIA interfaces. We'll go a little bit more detail here. What's left is the on-the-fly proxy generation for the COBIA interfaces. Okay, we've put together a draft of the threading guidance document, and it's going to go out for request for comments. So we'll talk briefly about that. We've interacted with the method and tools SIG, some support for the certification testing, and also for the versioning number, both the standard for it and some of the issues with actually putting it into practice. We've been consulting with them on that, and we've been developing some of the test specifications for the identification interface. Go to the next slide here. The COBIA roadmap, we started that back in 2016 as a proof of concept. Basically a small interop between a Thermo 1.1 interface to just demonstrate that we could do this. Phase 2 went to full Windows native compliance. That was in process on a single machine type of thing. We're using all of the Cape Open interfaces within COBIA now. You can do C or C++ type development within COBIA, and it's development of a fully functional COBIA PME and PMCs. I believe we've expanded that too, and there have been some demonstrations in Linux, right, Jasper? That we're actually having use of C within Linux on the COBIA platform. And then, of course, we've got the ongoing maintenance. We've had a couple of maintenance releases in the past year. The next work that we're doing is the cross-platform interoperability, which the core of that is the marshaling portion, which allows primarily single machine out of process interactions, and it can be extended to remote machine work as well. I think that's where we end up with completing the marshaling as well, using TCP/IP on the single machine local host. One of the work packages that we're looking at is the remote computing, which would basically build in how do we map the remote machine. We're looking for justification on that. We'll talk about that a little bit more, along with the language bindings and logging as part of the phase 3 stuff. And then the documentation is a future step. We've got to do a better job of getting that documentation out to everybody. Phase 2 maintenance, COBIA is currently being supported by COLAN, and 13 maintenance releases have been issued over the 3 years since we've released the Work Package 2 product, the full Windows product. This has been addressed at resolving issues that have come up during development and use in commercial applications. We're lucky to have HTRI and KBC actually using this commercially and being guinea pigs for getting this out there. Feedback has been positive. I believe there are a couple of other groups that are starting to use this. It's easier to develop Cape Open software using the COBIA package. And then there's some other presentations going on that'll talk about vendors choosing COBIA over COM for Cape Open development. The next step is the phase 3. The first work package is the marshaling one, and we've dealt with marshaling of the Cape Open interfaces. You can use both TCP/IP transport mechanism has been done. We've optimized this transport over the past year for some very specific scenarios where we're using a shared memory transport, which or a heap type based in process or memory transport here, whether it's an in process or out of process scenario. The out of process will use the shared memory, so that's a memory block that basically you can access from both sides of the application, both processes basically, and then the heap is shared in process. What we need to do is complete the on-the-fly proxy generation. This will basically allow custom interfaces, not just Cape Open interfaces, to be done, and it will also provide all of the marshaling infrastructure for COM across all of these different scenarios for that you would be wanting for interop, not just the full Windows package type marshaling. Okay. One of the underlying things that we needed to do to finish the work package one work is to complete the thread models. They're now ready for review. They've been pretty much implemented within COBIA and are usable there. Or about to be usable there. There are two models: the default threading model, which is it's designed to work like the COM apartment threaded model, and it'll allow you to use multiple threads call the PMC for multiple threads. Okay. The alternative is a restricted threading model. It's more or less a single threaded model where you're only calling the PMC from the thread that it was created on. So you've got two different approaches there. Both of these will allow, if the PMC wants to use multiple threads, it can. It's just how do you access the PMC from the PME? Are you able to access it from one thread or more than one thread? Okay. What we were looking for in developing it is to make sure that we had a modern, flexible approach to multi-threaded applications. You know, who's responsible for synchronizing things? When do we need to marshal calls and when do we not? And of course, making sure that we can work with COM is an important consideration here. And again, we're ready to go to RFC for this threading model. So please provide feedback to us on what we've put together. Okay. Next step. One of the next steps for COBIA Phase 3 is potential language bindings to other languages that are used within applications. You know, we surveyed in 2020. This is kind of a rehash of that, of what we found out there in part. You know, the languages that we're interested in, you know, a C binary application interface level, being able to work at that level with COBIA. Python, you know, Python is very popular in scientific and engineering programming. I think that it's got use in developing prototyping of things like PMCs. You can do some simple work with it in those types of settings. Fortran to allow use of legacy code, and then .NET, which is kind of my interest, is being able to actually you know, write in something like C# to be able to interact with COBIA, as opposed to having to go through COM and be able to do it that route. You know, of course, all of this is contingent upon vendor support for a language. We don't want to just go out and have it there just to have it there. So, you know, until somebody says, yeah, we really need Python and this is why, you know, the management board is kind of holding up on authorizing us to go to a different language, you know, adding language bindings here. Okay. As far as the Phase 3 work package 3 and 4, you know, the remote package work product is a very interesting one. It will allow you to say set up a cluster to do some kind of you know, high performance type modeling, high resolution type modeling on that type of a machine for, say, a high fidelity model for a unit operation or something that you're trying to develop. If you want to do, say, a CFD type model of a reactor, and to use and to plug that into a Cape Open simulation package. So, you know, that would be like a use case for that. You know, we're looking for, again, who who needs this? Where's the need? Who's going to do something with it in the short term, to be able to extend the marshalers to be able to do the remote access. And then we do want to go ahead and start on the logging work package. And this will be a complement to the Colt product. And it may actually be, we're kind of developing what this is going to look like, and who's going to be able to use the logging. You know, there is going to be an interface set that'll come along with the logging that, you know, the PME could actually access that, and it would be as part of the interop or part of the call within the COBIA framework. Some logging event will be fired or could be fired under certain circumstances. So we would have to come up with, you know, what exactly are we looking to do within the logging. You know, and then Colt would be another client for this. This would be a mechanism for Colt to actually do some logging within the COBIA system as well as that goes forward. You know, so I don't see COM going away in the near future. So, you know, a common logging framework would be a nice one to have. Next slide on test spec developments. Moving away from COBIA, we've supported the interop SIG with the common interfaces. We need to develop them a little bit more. I actually want to see the test specifications included in the interface specification, so that way everything's all kind of in one place. So we know what the test cases are that we're interested in, along with you know, what the interface is actually expected to be. Let's go on to the next slide here, and then kind of wrapping up here with what we're expecting to accomplish in 23, 24. Of course, it'll be maintenance of the COBIA phase 2. That'll be ongoing. You know, that'll probably never stop. There'll always be something found, I think, you know, going forward, and hopefully there are smaller and smaller issues as we go forward, right? Complete the documentation of the threading model, which means to go through the RFC process and then put it together as a final document or a final deliverable in some format. You know, the work package 3, finish up the phase 1 work package 3 work, and try to get the logging component added. And then continue developing test cases for common interfaces. We do have to update some of the interfaces. Parameters comes to mind, and in particular, and I think we probably have some work to do with collections as well. You know, develop test cases for these interfaces. Also persistence, and some of the errata and clarification work that we've needed to do to update some of those specifications and incorporate all of that. Managers, I believe that's out for RFC or about to be. I know we've finished our work on it. Reporting is another interface spec that we've got developed. We need to finalize it and get it out. And of course, we'll continue working with the interop SIG. So, and then you go ahead and open it up for any questions within the group here. So thank you for your attention.
Thank you,
Any
Bill.
questions?